Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of selections from Herodotus, and I'm in book 1 and up to chapter 31. This is, of course, part of the story of Solon going off to see Croesus. So Croesus is asked who were the most Olbios, who were the most prosperous, who were the wealthiest, and he mentions Telos the Athenian, because he had a good life and he died nobly. And Croesus, of course, wants to push it a bit further, as he does in this next section. Hos de ta kataton telon pro tripsato solon ton kroison epas pola te Kleobia ep erota tina deuteron metikenon idoi dokion pankul deuterea gon oisestai. Now, so the hos is really when, and the ta kata tot telon is really connected with this bit a bit later on, so I'm going to hold that for the moment. But when Solon pro trepsato, well, from pro trepamai, it means to urge on. It's almost to urge him on to ask further. It's perhaps aroused his curiosity, some translators say. So when Solon had aroused Croesus's curiosity, having spoken of the situation with Telos, which was great and Olbia and prosperous, so having said that Telos's situation was or his affairs were great and prosperous. Ep erota, this is the imperfect. The verb is erotao. In Ionic, it's ero. They augment it to erota, so it's erotao and then ep on the front. So he asked him, deuteron adverbial here. He asked what one he might see as second after him, that is, what Solon would see, which person Solon would see as being second after him, that is, after Telos. Dokion, uncontracted, so thinking, punku very much, that. Now, gon is for goon in Attic. The omicron upsilon becomes an omega in this dialect. So gon for goon, meaning at least. Goon, of course, is geun. It has that sense of at least. Oisestai is the future middle infinitive from pharaoh. And pharaoh in the middle means to win, and this is the future that he was about to win. Future infinitive. So thinking very much so that at least he would win deuterea, the second prize. Hode ape, but he, that's Solon, said, the next one in line, the next people in line are Kleobis and Biton. Toitusiga eusigenos argaiusibios te archeon hupain. Let's do that much before we turn the page. For the life was sufficient. So, in other words, they had enough to live on. So the manner of living was sufficient to these people, Kleobis and Biton, being Argives, genos by race. So accusative of respect, being Argives in respect of their race. So in other words, they had enough to live comfortably on. There was sufficient living for them who were Argives by race. Kai pros tuto Rome somatos toi adi. And in addition to this, The Rome is the word for strength. There's a verb ronumi as well, to be strong. So Rome is strength. The strength of their body was as follows. Aethlorphoroi te amphoteroi homoios esan kai de kai legetai hoti holegos. For both were similarly prize winners. This is from Pharaoh, to carry off an elthon is a prize. They were both prize winners. And indeed also the following story, legatai, is told, is said. Euses hortes te hire toisi agaioisi e pantos ten hemetera auton tsugei comisthenae es to hieron todes phi bois ectu agru u paraginon to en hooray. Now again we get a genitive absolute here. This is the participle. It would be just ouses in Attic. We get ouses in Ionic. This here is equivalent to heorte in Attic, and the epsilon doesn't appear in this dialect, so it's heorte, which is a feast or festival. So there being a festival for Hera, a festival for the Argives, and indeed there was a temple of Hera near Argos. All we have left now are just bare remains of it, but it has been discovered and excavated. So there was a festival for Hera for the Argives. So that being the case, there was need, it's that de'amai root, but it's in the active here. There was need in all respects. So there was need in all respects for the mother of them. Comisthenae is aorist passive infinitive, to be conveyed to the temple. Tsuge, this is the dative from tsugos, third declension, neuter noun, meaning a cart. We know from other places that the mother's name was Kindipi, and she was a priestess of Hera. So there was urgent need that she had to be conveyed to the temple in this cart. But hoi desvi boes, but the oxen for them, u paraginitot, were not present, ek tu agru, from the field, in hore, in time. Ek clay iomenoi de te hore hoi niai, hupaduntes autoi hupaten suglen, helkon ten hamaxan, epites hamaxas despi keeto hemete. Stadius depenticae tessera conta dia comisantes epiconto est tohiron. So now this is a funny old verb here. It's an old Attic form, in fact, from the verb ekkleo, which means to be constrained. So they being constrained by time, in other words, time being of the essence, the nianiae, now this would be nianii in Attic, but we get the eterization, so we get nianiae, the young men, hupaduntes, from hupaduno, putting themselves under. So they themselves getting under, and then it repeats it again, the tsugle, under the yoke. Helkon, from helko, they were dragging, they began to drag, it's imperfect, tain hamaxan, the chariot, or the wagon perhaps, no, not chariot, wagon, sorry. So they began to drag the wagon, and on the wagon, the mother, Svi, for them, Svi for Svisi, dative of the possessor, o keetot, from ochio. You get the word okos for a chariot in Homer. The verb ochio is just to carry. So the mother was carried. So on this chariot, their mother was carried. This is passive here. And having conveyed her, understood for 45 stades, so for 45 stades, at Pikonto they arrived, aorist from Aphicnaeami, at the Hieron. Now that would be here, Etron in Attic. The epsilon doesn't appear here, you just get Hieron. So at the temple. Tauta despi poiesasi, kai ophthesi hypotes panegurios telute tubiu ariste ep egeneto, diadexe te en toisi hothios hos amenon e anthropo tethnanai malon e soain. So they conveyed it to the temple, and for them, having done touted these things, and ophthesa, this is an aorist passive dative participle from horao. So it's ophthane, the root is oph. So for them having done these things and having been seen by, now this is a genitive here from the third declension noun panaguris, which is a word for an assembly. I think it's a Doric word, it's a Spartan word. So by the assembly, so when they had done these things and had been seen by the assembly, the best end of life came upon them. It's that same verb we had before in the earlier chapter. The god dia dexe is from dia dake numi. It's not decamai, it's from dake numi, to show, and the dia just strengthens it. So the god revealed en tutoisi. Well, it's either in these things or in regard to these young men. Hos, how, optative from the verb to be, how it might be better for a man, tethnanai, infinitive, to die, malon eitzoen, rather than to live. Agaioi men ga peristantes makarisdon ton neani eon ten romain, hai de agai ten metera auton, hoion technon ecurese. For the Argive men standing around, from perihistemi, so standing around, they were blessing, from Macarisdo, so that they were giving their blessings on the Rome, the strength, tone neon, this is from neanias, uncontracted genitive plural here. So they were blessing the strength of the young men. Then we get a men there, and there's our answering de, but the Argive women, understand, were blessing their mother, literally of such children she met with. So we have to probably supply, well, this hoion here probably for hoti toiuton, so because she met with such children. Curio takes a genitive, means to meet with. Perhaps just she had such children. Heide meter pericares iusa to de ergo kai te feme stasa antion to agalmatos euketo Kleobi kai te kai bitoni toisi hiatos teknoisi hoimin et times in megalos tain theondunai to anthropo tu cain areston estin. So their mother, being perikares, being very glad or very joyful at the task, so at what they had done, and the fame, the report of it, so connected with fame to speak, but so both by the deed itself and the report of it, standing opposite the agalmatos, from agalma, this is genitive here, third declension neuter, the statue. This is the statue of the goddess Hera. This is from Akamai. She prayed. Now this bit's a little bit tricky to get into English. I'm going to jump down a bit here, I think. So she prayed that the goddess to give, so notice it's Taintheon, so she prayed that the goddess to give, now the top is that which is Ariston best for a man to Cain infinitive tulcano to meet with, and that she give it to, going back to here, Kleobis and Biton, her own children, who honoured min for Autain, can be either Auton or Autain, who honoured her megalos greatly. So slightly interestingly constructed sentence here. So just to do that bit again, so standing near the statue, she prayed that the goddess would give to Kleobis and Biton, her own children who had honoured her greatly, the goddess would give that which is best for a man to meet with. Meta tautain detain eukain hos ethusan tekai u okethesan katakoi methentes en auto to hero hoi ni aeniai uk eti anestesan ala entele tuto esconto. So this is very odd, this little section here. So after this prayer, hosts, when they had sacrificed and they had feasted, this is from euokio, it's a good classical word for to feast. So when they had sacrificed and feasted, katakoimathentes, having been put to sleep, or perhaps just having fallen asleep, in that same temple, so that's hero for hero in Attic, the young men no longer got up, but esconto, literally they were held in this end. So to this end, or they were held, in other words, death held them there. Agaioi de spion ekonas poiesamenoi an ethesan es delphus hos andron ariston genomenon. It's very strange, but possibly, if there's any truth in the story here, perhaps they had strokes or heart attacks after having done this massive amount of carrying this wagon with their mother for such a long distance, but they don't get up again. So the Argives, having made iconas, we get our word icon from that, images of them, and this is from anatithemi, which is a standard word for setting up an image. So they set it up, these images, in Delphi as being of men who were born the Ariston, born the best. So as of men who were the best. And that's the end of chapter 31.